Hi there, I want to say a little bit about flagging on YouTube, and I've made some notes here, so I'm going to be looking down at my screen. Occasionally I apologise about that. I'll try and keep it as fluid as I can. I'd welcome any feedback that you might have for my thoughts so far. There's 3 points I'm going to make, and then I'm going to try and sum them up at the end. Firstly, flagging goes against the entire spirit of community. And by community I don't mean a group of friends or people who share the same viewpoint as yourself. Rather, I mean community in the sense of a group of individuals who share resources, and particularly those resources we sometimes call social capital. I'll put a link in the description box below about what I mean by social capital. But simply put, social capital means all of those ways in which we make ourselves valuable to one another, rather than simply as customers for each other's products. You might be valuable because you offer video content freely, because you make insightful comments, because you make people laugh or make people think or empathise with people, or making people angry can even be valuable sometimes. So whilst it might not be immediately obvious, social capital is a big deal amongst the vlogging community here on YouTube. We don't come here primarily as consumers. We come here to talk, to listen and to be part of something. When someone is sad because of a bereavement or a loss of a job or the breakdown of a relationship, people in the community offer condolences or advice or distraction. No money changes hands, it's just what we do, and that's how social capital works. YouTube provides none of those facilities, even though it is the platform on which these community practices are built. We created those things. The economic capital rightly belongs to Google to distribute as it sees fit according to its business model. The social capital, however, belongs to us. It is up to each of us to decide how we want to spend our time and energy on this site and in these communities, and our actions contribute toward the generation and distribution of that capital. What videos you and I watch and respond to, what we comment, who we talk to, and how we talk to them. These are the ways in which we both generate social capital and also benefit from it, with that benefit ideally being proportionate to our contributions. This is right and proper, because the responsibility for how social capital is distributed should always reside with the community that generates that capital. Within this understanding, flagging a video, particularly one that has been uploaded by someone with whom we share a community, and that might be as simple as just talking to someone, it's a bad thing. It circumvents the processes by which the value of social capital is negotiated by those people who actually own it. Making an appeal to outside authority to solve community disputes is always to risk weakening the social network and allowing social capital to hemorrhage from that community. YouTube community members who justify their flagging of other users by referring to the terms of service and the community guidelines are making just these kinds of appeal. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is the YouTube flagging system itself, and I want to suggest that the YouTube flagging system is not for you. If we feel we have been the subject of an assault on YouTube, whether it be through exposure to material that is offensive or illegal, from personal attacks or threats by other users, through the release of personal information, or from assaults on our livelihood or our reputation, through the taking and reusing of our material without our consent, we might look to YouTube to take action to right these wrongs. And if they do indeed act, by taking down that video we feel so unjustifiably attacked us in some way, we might well feel that YouTube has done its job and looked after us properly. However, it's worth considering for a moment why the flagging system exists, or rather who it is there to serve. It might be tempting to think that the system exists to safeguard the users and to act on their behalf, but this is not the case. The system exists so that YouTube can meet its legal requirements as a safe harbour and allow it to better manage its brand identity. Whilst as users we might recognise the distinction between false and real flags, seeing the removal of a video through false flagging as a mistake on the part of YouTube, for the corporation there is no such distinction and no mistakes are being made. YouTube has no incentive to ensure that every video which has been flagged has been done so legitimately. On the contrary, from the perspective of the corporation, it is better if 1,000 videos are removed for no good reason than that one video stay up that might jeopardise their safe harbour status or compromise their branding. The number of videos that are false flagged and the amount of videos lost when a channel is taken down is evidence of this policy to err massively on the side of caution. Also, since the sheer number of videos that are flagged each day is so high, the review process is necessarily automated, and to the extent that human reviewers are involved, they only get to spend between 5 and 10 seconds evaluating each video. This means that erring on the side of caution is built in as a necessary factor of the system. If, in that 5 to 10 seconds, the reviewer catches a flash of skin, an F-word or a few frames from another video, then these are usually enough to trigger the removal of that content under review. In the flagging system, YouTube seems to have given us a weapon with which we can maintain order for ourselves, but in fact it operates solely for the interests of YouTube itself. It is a weapon that acts indiscriminately and causes far more collateral damage than strikes against what we might feel are legitimate targets. For this reason, flagging a video should be considered a bad thing for those of us who value community, fairness and accountability. Okay, the last thing I want to just mention quickly is about authorities and accountability. About a year ago, a YouTube user called Happy Cabby began a flagging campaign against what he saw as people abusing the system. Over a period of a week, Happy Cabby flagged down something in the region of 3,000 channels. He justified this action by pointing out that these channels had all been set up to exploit viewers by attempting to involve them in get-rich-quick scams, by linking to external sites where pirated video games and movies could be downloaded, or by linking to pornography sites. These are all contraventions of YouTube's terms of service and community guidelines, and therefore the flagging of these channels was apparently justified. Clearly these channels were not participating in the creation of social capital. The users associated with them were not vloggers, did not get involved in comment exchanges, made no responses, and generally had no presence within any YouTube community. This means that the flagging down of these channels did not directly damage the trust networks that operate within such communities by referring to an outside authority. However, I think it is not unlikely that one effect of this campaign was to lend undeserved legitimacy to the flagging system. By branding his flagging campaign as a contribution to cleaning up YouTube, Happy Cabby reinforced the sense that the flagging system operates for the benefits of the user, which is clearly not the case. As I've already suggested, it exists in the form that it does in order to best serve the commercial and legal requirements of the corporation. A flagging system which did prioritise the needs of the user would look very different to the one we have now. So what do we do when we see something on YouTube that breaks the law? Do we just ignore it? Forget the terms of service and the community guidelines. We already have systems that deal properly with those kinds of activities. All of us live in countries where the rule of law is in operation, and whilst it may have numerous faults, it does at least have the benefit of some transparency, and its officials are notionally accountable for their actions to a degree that corporations simply are not. A legal system that would see 1,000 innocent people put in jail rather than one guilty person set free would not be acceptable in even the most repressive countries that YouTube currently operates within. The right thing to do if we see something illegal on YouTube and feel that we have to act, or indeed if a crime has been committed against ourselves through perhaps the reuse of our material, then the right thing to do is to follow our conscience and report it to authorities who might actually do something about it. The flagging campaign against illegal activity on YouTube carried out by Happy Cabby did more than just take down 3,000 channels, it also removed evidence of actual criminal activity. So just to conclude and to kind of sum up what I've said so far, all communities develop social capital that it is the responsibility of the members of that community to maintain. Appeals to punitive authority outside of that community inevitably damage the system and lower the amount of social capital. Secondly, the YouTube flagging system was set up to protect the interests of the corporation and not for the benefit of users, and this is still its primary function. And finally, using the flagging system as a means of maintaining order within our communities is counterproductive, because in referring to a non-accountable outside authority, we deny ourselves the possibility of developing proper self-regulation. Okay, that's what I've got to with that so far. If you've any thoughts or comments, I'd welcome some feedback. Thanks very much. Bye.